about the unusual things Judge Meach did to insulate this jury from the public and from the news media, and also to keep a fair trial without any interference with those jurors. Would you go over for us some of the things that you've had to go through as a reporter covering this trial?
Yeah, Judge Meach is now in the courtroom, and he is speaking. The jury has sent word that they do have a verdict.
Good.
Judge Meach, of course, as you have seen day in and day out during deliberations, the jurors were leaving and entering the courthouse in 2 government vans with mirrored windows, going to an undisclosed location. Then the jurors were allowed to get back into their cars and go home. Judge Meach is right now asking for the courtroom to maintain decorum, i.e. to get silent and let's get to business of doing a very orderly verdict. Judge Meach, of course, a very orderly judge, and very respected for that and that discipline that he does install in the courtroom, which, as we were just talking about a few minutes ago, also helped resume the respect for the American judicial system in the United States. Judge Meach, hold on, Ward. Judge Meach has the jury in the room. He just asked them that they have reached a verdict. It looks like we are within seconds, if not minutes, away from having the verdicts in. Again, count number 1. Count number 1 is going to be conspiracy to use a weapon of mass destruction. The jury is now being instructed on the legal formalities. We, the jury, find unanimous agreement. Count 1, guilty. Terry Nichols is guilty. Conspiracy to use a weapon of mass destruction. Count 2, not guilty. Not guilty on count 2. Not guilty on using a weapon of mass destruction. Again, Tim McVeigh was guilty on every single count. The 3rd count, he is now reading the murder charges, the 8 murder charges for the separate federal agents who were in the Murrah building. The jury's answer is yes. I'm not sure yes to what. On the murder counts, we still don't know if it's 1st degree, 2nd degree, or involuntary manslaughter at this point. Count 4. Not guilty of 1st degree murder on the 1st federal agent. Guilty of manslaughter. Guilty of manslaughter in the 1st federal agent. Victim number 2, federal agent number 2, not guilty of 1st degree murder. Guilty of manslaughter. It appears that this jury has determined that Terry Nichols conspired with Tim McVeigh. They do find he did conspire and planned out the bombing with Tim McVeigh, but they are not holding him directly responsible for the premeditated murders of the people in the federal building. And guilty of involuntary manslaughter on the federal agents killed in the Murrah building. Guilty of conspiring to use the weapon of mass destruction. To recap, not guilty of using that weapon of mass destruction. This jury is holding Tim McVeigh entirely responsible for that. For federal agent Paul Douglas, not guilty of 1st degree murder. It does appear this jury is across the board finding Terry Nichols guilty of involuntary manslaughter for the 8 federal agents. So this jury found that Terry Nichols did conspire and plan out this bombing, but did not directly premeditate the deaths and murders of the 168 people, specifically the 8 federal agents in the Oklahoma City federal building. So all 8 federal agents named in the indictment, Terry Nichols is found guilty of their murder only on the degree, the lesser charge, of involuntary manslaughter. For these 8 federal agents, this means this is a life sentence, not a death sentence. However, on the 1st count, conspiracy to use a weapon of mass destruction, is this a true verdict? The judge is asking the jury. He's going to poll the jury. He's going to ask each juror one by one So he's talking to the foreman. He is asking the foreman, these are your verdicts. And they are affirming. They are affirming these are their verdicts.
Phil, they're basically saying that Terry Nichols helped Tim McVeigh plan the bombing, but wasn't actually there at the scene. Isn't that in effect what they're saying?
Essentially, they are saying that, and as you and I were discussing prior to the verdicts being read, Ward, in that the hypothetical situation where maybe this jury comes back and finds that, yeah, Terry Nichols did plan this bombing, but did not necessarily know Tim McVeigh was actually going to blow up a building full of people. And that appears to be the case. They did not conclude without reasonable doubt that Terry Nichols knew Tim McVeigh was going to put this Ryder truck in front of a building full of people and then blow up that building. So they are holding Terry Nichols responsible for conspiring to use this weapon of mass destruction, but not guilty, at least first degree or second degree, guilty of killing the people in the Murrah building.
Okay, Phil, interrupt us now if you get any more information. We're going to recap now those counts for